Welcome, everybody, to Fourth and Frames, the Redraft Fantasy Football Podcast here at Fantasy and Frames. I'm your host, Jorge Edwards. With me, got the usual Nate Marcum, Aidan, Weingartner, but we are very lucky tonight to welcome friend of the show, friend of the brand, Mr. Andrew Cooper from Fantasy Alarm, Sirius XM Fantasy, Coop A Fiasco on Twitter. And Coop, what's going on, man? Welcome to the show.
I love this show, man. I love popping in with the gang. You know that, dude. So I'm pumped to be here with you guys, dude. It's a little sad that Drew Scott's not here. You know, he was doing a little content for us in Fantasy Alarm, so it's good to see him too. But we got a great crew, and I'm pumped to talk some ball tonight, dude. So let's get to it.
Nice. And of course, the topic for today's show is we're going to be talking about 2026 coaching changes and the fantasy implications thereof for redraft purposes. But just wanted to give a shout out to everybody who's been signing up for our premium subscription over at fantasyandframes.com. Thank you very much. Don't forget to head over there for our more in-depth content for both offense and IDP for the cost of a Starbucks once a month. That's your payment for the entire month. So we really appreciate that. $4.99, as well as head over to fantasyandframes.com. Check out our rankings and articles for both Dynasty Redraft, IDP Dynasty, IDP Redraft, as well as rookie rankings. A lot of hardworking people over there putting out the article content, still having love for the article content. Always got to have love for the article content. So head over to fantasyandframes.com today. If you're watching on Twitter, give us a follow, and then head over to YouTube and give us a sub, and put some questions in the chat here for us and for Coop as we're talking shop tonight. But before we get into that, let's get into a piece of news that we heard this last hour on Dynasty 365. And now let's talk about this topic from a redraft perspective. Broncos running back RJ Harvey, we found out, underwent surgery for a torn labrum that he suffered in the AFC Championship. Coop, from a redraft perspective, what were your thoughts on RJ Harvey prior to finding out this news? And now what are your thoughts for him after finding out this news?
Yeah, so for me, Harvey was going at a spot where you didn't really truly have to pay overwhelming amount for him, so I didn't mind it as much. The more news I hear through the offseason, the more nervous it makes me. The first bit of news that we heard on this situation, not even about the shoulder, was the rumblings about the David Montgomery trade, where David Montgomery the trade was announced that he was going to the Texans, and then all of a sudden they re-announced that it was the return had changed. They were actually getting more back, the Lions were. And it turns out that a team had tried to knife in and get Montgomery, and that team actually ended up being the Broncos, if you believe the reporting that's out there. Then they go out and get J.K. Dobbins and bring him back. It makes it pretty clear that they wanted this to be a split backfield in some capacity. So you have to treat it that way, right? Like with guys like Travion Henderson, R.J. Harvey, you have to understand that, yes, the upside is high for explosive players, but the floor is a little dangerous if these guys are just going to be part-time guys, especially because Harvey himself last year, he was losing some pass work to Tyler Bidet. He wasn't even fully locked in as the pass down back. So it does make me a little nervous, but you can't ignore the upside that truly explosive athletes have, like Harvey and Henderson. So doesn't take them off my board. Just another red flag on a guy that already had two.
Nate, reports out of Dallas Cowboys, headquarters are talking about how George Pickens, he's like, yeah, I'm good playing on the tag this year. No problems over here in Dallas. Let's focus on winning. Let's focus on everything else. I forget which beat reporter was it saying, wow, he's really matured since his, 1 year absence from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like, I know we've talked about this. Like, where is this doing? What are we thinking? Is he going to cause trouble? Is he not? Now we hear this. Like, what are you on George Pickens? Do you think this bumps up his redraft value hearing this news, or is it just all talk at this point?
It solidifies. It makes me feel better about any spot where I've already taken him prior, because there's a few landing spots outside of Dallas that I would increase his ADP or his value considerably more so. And if anything, there was landing spots where I could see a hit more than the upside. So I'm fine with that. We've discussed George Pickens quite often, and rightfully so. It sucks that last year he was, the my guy or whatever we want to call it. And this year I don't know if I have any shares of him quite yet.
Nope, that makes sense. And Nate, I want to stick with you because I could have swore I saw you at the Kansas City courthouse or wherever courthouse it was where Rashee Rice was getting released, and you were the guy holding up the cell phone camera, running after him the second he was released from jail, and ran to his car immediately after that release. How are you feeling about?
Yeah, I posted his bond form. I posted the bond form.
Did you?
Yeah, man. It's little things I can do for the team. I figured with Mahomes taking the salary restructuring, probably took a haircut on that, and I don't want to cost him any money. So I took one for the team. Figured I'd go out, and get him out. He's all is alleged. No, it's still messy, man. I hate that it's year after year. There's some piece with Kansas City from ever since that damn wolf got busted for robbing banks. Everything's got to be criminals around here now.
Hashtag doing it for Chiefs Kingdom.
Chiefsaholic, dude.
Yeah,
Chiefsaholic, man. He must have a single tear rolled down his face when his buddy Rashee Rice was released from prison. Like,
it was rough.
Very nice, very nice. All right, guys, let's get into our topic for today: coaching changes and the fantasy implications. Let's start with the Arizona Cardinals head coach Mike LaFleur. Coop, let's start with you. I don't know if this is underselling it, but you were like the tight end whisperer of whisperers, the tight end god in the fantasy football space. With the hire of Mike LaFleur, what are we thinking about Trey McBride? Does anything change? Does anything excite you, make you go, or it's like, status quo?
So Trey McBride is always going to be a focal point. Like, you don't go from getting 160 targets to getting under 100. You know what I mean? So, like, he's always going to have the floor as long as he's healthy. I'm just worried about picking him as people. And it's not even just about Mike LaFleur's team. Like, he's going to obviously find ways to get Trey McBride booked and get the ball. The problem that you run into is last year, the conditions to create Trey McBride were insanely slim, right? Like, the team was under 30% with 1-11, and they were just throwing it like crazy. I mean, like, Brissett had a game against the Seahawks where he fumbled it twice for touchdowns to start the game, so they had to throw like crazy. Like, literally started 14-0. He threw like 70 times against the 49ers, and Marvin Harrison Jr. missed a ton of those games. And even then, where did that get you? 317 PPR points. Some of these guys like CeeDee Lamb and Christian McCaffrey are scoring 400. So Trey McBride, to me, it's not even necessarily about the coaching change. You're basically at his ADP, you're betting on him to have a top 5 season again at the tight end position. I'm not really making that bet. The other thing is that, like, for the last few years, they're dumping it down to Trey McBride every single play. That hasn't been working. The Cardinals have been terrible. They're picking in the top of the draft every year. Why would you change coaches and then keep doing what hasn't been working? To me, I really think that the odds of them coming out and throwing a Trey McBride 160 times just aren't good.
Aidan, let's piggyback that into your question for the Arizona Cardinals, and let's talk about these wide receiving options. If dumping it off to Trey McBride hasn't been working for real football, what do you think is going to work for fantasy football? Having LaFleur there from the McVay Shanahan tree, who's going to benefit? Do you think Michael Wilson or Marvin Harrison Jr.?
I know going into year 3, he's been a disappointment through 2 years, but I'm still very much in on Marvin Harrison Jr. Jorge, you just allude to the fact and mentioned it that Mike LaFleur is from the Sean McVay tree, and we saw the Rams have emphasized an alpha wide receiver in Puka Nacua. Listen, I'm not comparing anyone to Puka Nacua, but in terms of role and usage and target share and all that, you could see MHJ getting towards those numbers if everything breaks right. If Jacoby Brissett has to come in and sling it 45 to 50 times plus a game more because of a bad defense once again, I think MSJ will benefit from that. And I'm not saying Michael Wilson's last 6 or 7 games of the season last year down the stretch was a fluke necessarily, but I don't think we can kind of hang our hat on that happening again, if you will, because outside of those 6 or 7 games, his career has been largely a disappointment. So I'm very much in on Marvin Harrison Jr., and I'm a bit skeptical, if you would, that Michael Wilson will ever kind of capitalize on how he finished down the stretch last year.
Well, let's talk about starting the year and finishing the year. Nate, let's go to you next. Mm-hmm. Jacoby Brissett, Carson Beck, Gardner Minshew. I mean, yay, woo! I mean, for there has to be some negative effect from these guys, impacting, Jeremiah Love, Marvin Harrison, Michael Wilson, Trey McBride. If you had to pick one of those guys here, who do you think is going to be the bust based off of like where they're going in current ADP?
Yeah, I think the hate for Jacoby Brissett based off of last year was, I don't want to say it's overblown because I definitely don't love Jacoby Brissett. I'm not actively going out and pursuing him, but capable of supporting 2 to 3 of those 4 you mentioned. Sure. All 4. Yeah, it's going to be rough. And honestly, I think Wilson is most likely to bust, just simply put that when you average 7.5, 8 points, fantasy points a game with a healthy Marvin Harrison Jr. and Trey McBride on the field, I don't think that lends to seeing significant upside, especially considering he's only going, 3 to 4 receivers past Marvin Harrison Jr. I think the bust of any of those 4, I would lean towards Wilson.
All right, let's go to the Atlanta Falcons here. New head coach Kevin Stefanski. Nate, let's stick with you. Any concern for Drake London's fantasy value with the brand new system that, given Stefanski's tendencies in Cleveland, could potentially emphasize more of the tight end in the receiving game?
Don't get me wrong. Stefanski's tenures with Cleveland, both highs and lows. Not as high, but definitely low as low can be. But if we go back to 22, 23, really more likely with Jerry Jeudy and Amari Cooper, he has the ability to have at least one receiver see 130 plus targets. And that's what we're going to expect out of Drake London. And if you look from a personnel standpoint, Cleveland ran 11 personnel 44% of the time, 12 personnel 41% of the time. And you compare it to what Atlanta had previously done, of 45% 11 personnel, 38% 12. It's not a huge drop off if personnel changes impact the play calling, or it doesn't impact in this case. So I think there's a good case that, obviously, of all the players, and we'll talk about Kyle Pitts, and I don't want to, give up the lead or anything, but there's two players in the receiving game that even I want to touch, and one, of course, is Drake London. I'm not moving Drake London up or down with Kevin Stefanski coming in. And if anything, Stefanski had, honestly, sorry, Shedeur Sanders fans and everybody else, but the last 2 years have just been atrocious. And I don't expect any receiver with any head coach, any offensive coordinator in that system to truly put up what Drake London can do with. Honestly, Tua is a significant upgrade over everything they've had over the last couple of years.
You never have to apologize about Brown's business, bro. You don't got to apologize to Shedeur Sanders fans. You don't got to apologize to the other fans of the other 30 quarterbacks they've had over the last 15 years, though. You don't got to apologize.
There you go. But let's talk about the aforementioned Kyle Pitts here, Coop. Again, we were talking about it, Stefanski and his tendency to utilize the tight end. I've always had concerns, this year I've had concerns since the hire of Stefanski, that when you've had, you looked at the times that Drake London has been on the field with Kyle Pitts, you've obviously more target volume going to Drake London. Does that continue in 2026 with the new coaching staff and the new play calling here? Like, what are your thoughts on Kyle Pitts? Are you in or out on him for redraft purposes?
I'm in. I'm very much in, and I'm fully with Nate. Like, when you look at the history of, like, Kevin Stefanski's been around for a long time, and he actually worked with Gary Kubiak back in the day, and he said, I'm going to work with Clint Kubiak someday, because Gary Kubiak's son, who is now obviously the coach of the Raiders, like, because he really liked the scheme ideas that he had so much, right? Which is basically in the run game, you're mixing a lot of zone blocking. And then when they stack the line of scrimmage, you pull a guard, or you pull a tackle, or you do a wham block with a tight end and do like a gap scheme. And that scheme is so friendly for running backs. But part of that is so much tight end usage and also fullback usage. And they brought in fullback Michael Burton. So you're going to have a lot of tight ends, and you're going to have the fullback. That's going to essentially lead to a lot of 1 and 2 wide receiver sets. They didn't even go out and get, really, as Nate kind of alluded to, wide receiver 2 battle is between Jahan Dotson, which they actually gave him a decent decent amount of money to try and be the other outside presence. And then the rookie Zachariah Branch, like, I'm not interested, just like Nate. This is one of the few schemes that really does utilize an X wide receiver, which is good for Drake London. It was great for JSN, right? And then you're going to have the big slot move tight end, and Kyle Pitts can do it all. Absolute freakish size speed combination, and we might not even have seen the best from him yet. Like, talk about the personnel fit for what the Browns had was not good for Stefanski. He found like the perfect team for him in terms of like a big split end, a tight end that can play wide receiver, and a one cut back that can destroy in his wide, outside zone blocking scheme. This could be awesome, man. If one of these left-handed quarterbacks can figure it out, that's the key. But they got two of them now. I love the move bringing in Tua, right? It's like you bring him in for cheap, and the beauty of the two left-handed quarterbacks is you don't need to change the playbook. You don't need to move the left tackle to the right or any of that. It's like it fell right in their lap,
This almost seems like the situation that Stefanski had when he was the offensive coordinator with the Minnesota Vikings prior to becoming the head coach of the Cleveland Browns. Now he's back in a situation where you have potentially competent quarterback play, hopefully healthy quarterback play. You have receiving options. You have running backs like Dalvin Cook. I'm not comparing Dalvin Cook to Bijan Robinson. I'm just talking about like better quality of players that he had in Cleveland. So yeah, no, I'm liking what you guys are talking here. Let's head over to Charm City, who, if you go into the city of Baltimore, there are literally benches everywhere that say the greatest on earth. And I'm just like that is a lot to just throw out there for Baltimore.
If you ever been into the Horseshoe Casino over there,
I have, and it is
I can assure you
something. It is something. I love how you know that, by the way. That is fantastic.
I've been to a few different places over there. That was funny, dude. Just some of the areas around Camden Yards. Not exactly
little suspect. Fells Point is my favorite of all the ones, but yes, definitely a little suspect.
Special.
Yeah. Nate, let's start with you. Let's talk about some fantasy wide receivers for the Baltimore Ravens. What are your thoughts here? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Plural? Was that plural? Did you say fantasy wide receivers? As in there's plural receivers in Baltimore?
They do exist. They are human beings who are still there. They have jerseys. They go on the field. It's not just Zay Flowers and then a whole bunch of missing bodies. But given your comment right there, it's Zay Flowers a bust here in Baltimore.
I'm such a Rashad Bateman truther that you hurt my feelings.
So is Drew. True.
I'm in Drew's chair today. So.
Are we still doing that, Rashad Bateman? Oh my god.
Well, you know what? In the very last round of best ball drafts, if I already have Lamar Jackson, sometimes
I'm fine.
If he's not hurt,
he had 9 touchdowns the year before last.
That is true. He said the word fantasy relevant, and relevance at the end of the season in a best ball format is easier to come by than relevance in a weekly start set where you have to make that decision that you're going to start Rashad Bateman over insert wide receiver 3. It's tricky. There's no doubt that Lamar Jackson has the talent to be able to support more than just Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews. And if they decide to pass the ball more, because they want to take the workload off of Derrick Henry. I feel like we have this conversation every year that, all right, this will be the year. They'll ease back, scale back a little bit on Lamar during the regular season. We'll get the fantasy upside on the receiving game, and then come playoff time, winter time, when Derrick Henry will do his thing. But it always seems to funnel to the, same collective group. I shouldn't have said it like that, because I do actually like the Rashad Bateman talent. Don't love the idea of how many different levels it has to go to get to him for relevance.
Aidan, before we get to your topic here, I kind of want to bounce something off of you, because we talked about it on Dynasty 365. Now I want to put a redraft spin on it. We talked about the wide receivers here for Dynasty. We have Bateman, we have Devontae Walker, but then we have a couple of rookies that they drafted, Elijah Sarratt and Jacoby Lane. If there was one to unseat one of these wide receivers in Bateman or Walker, who would you pick to have that happen by middle of the season to season's end for redraft? That you'd be like, okay, this is a viable, in quotes, road receiver.
I thought Jacoby Lane was a very raw prospect. I had no clue why they reached and took him in the third round. On the flip side, Elijah Sarratt, I loved. He was a second-round talent to me on film and analytically, and he went in the mid-fourth round of the Ravens. And I think, hot take, whatever, I think Sarratt's immediately better than Rashad Bateman day one, health-wise, obviously, and just talent-wise as well.
Wow, just that is a first-round knockout. I like that. But let's stick with you. Let's talk about tight end. Isaiah Likely out of the picture. Should we be high on Mark Andrews as being a tight end one potentially this year?
Yes, we should. He's absolutely the number 2 target behind Zay Flowers. I talked about the irrelevance and inconsistency, to say, put lately just now, of Rashad Bateman. Jacoby Lane, very, very raw prospect still. And while I love the idea of Elijah Sarratt, he's still a day 3 rookie, no matter what I think about his talent or not. At the end of the day, I think people are discounting Mark Andrews because, well, the last couple of years, Isaiah Likely's younger and he ate into his route share a bit and he ate into this and that. Mark Andrews is here. Not only did they lose Isaiah Likely, but they also lost Charlie Kohler, who took Andrews, or at least worked in tandem with Andrews for some of those blocking reps. Likely and Kohler are both gone now, so Mike Andrews has no competition whatsoever other than some extremely raw day 3 prospects. And we talked about the irrelevance, of the wide receivers. I think this is very, in its simplest form, very condensed. Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews, and nobody else matters, probably.
Okay. I'm sure you hurt a lot of feelings of those players' families, but we'll let that go. Let's talk about something we don't want to let go here, though. The Ravens bring in head coach Jesse Minter, who was the defensive coordinator for the Chargers last year, and their new offensive coordinator, Declan Doyle, is in town. How does this new offensive coordinator help Lamar Jackson's fantasy outlook this year?
Yeah, I think that with Declan Doyle, so he comes over from the Bears. He obviously worked under Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson was calling the plays, but like the coordinator obviously is involved in deciding what schemes to highlight every week and what players to highlight, right? It's like Ben Johnson's not, like, for instance, take Mark Andrews. Ben Johnson's not going to call back-to-back games of double-digit targets to Colston Loveland if he and Declan Doyle didn't talk about that, right? Like, so, and Declan Doyle also hasn't been in the league very long. He's only 30 years old. He's probably bringing over that scheme. So Zay Flowers, in my opinion, could be in the Amon-Ra St. Brown type slot flanker role, which would be beautiful for fantasy football. And then Mark Andrews, obviously we've seen the big slot work with Colston Loveland. That's beautiful. The reason I say in best ball you can have an extra guy is that, we've seen Rome Odunze and we've seen Jameson Williams as that other outside guy, whether it's Bateman, Sarratt, Jacoby Lane. Jesse Minter already said, hey, do the numbers. We have an opportunity for one of these rookies to play a big snap share and make an impact, whether that's as the third guy next to Bateman or even over Bateman. I mean, they're talking about it. And the one thing I love, and this was actually a huge criticism I had of Caleb Williams as a rookie, was that he was throwing the ball too hard, and he also was looking to run and putting his head down a lot of times, right? It was like you watch this guy and you're like, man, this guy's a cannon, but like if he just put a little touch on it. Last year, with Declan Doyle running the show, he at times – Nate, I don't want to get anybody up in arms. At times, looked like Patrick Mahomes in the sense that he was keeping his eyes downfield. We got some nods here. When he rolls out, the beautiful thing about Patrick Mahomes is he will run, but he is always looking for the big play downfield. And when Caleb unlocked that last year, it changed who he was as a player. And if Lamar Jackson, he's been one of the best there's been at that. But if he can take that to another level with this scheme that emphasizes that, instead of running every single time, just looking for big chunk plays and then running, I mean, this guy could win another MVP. I mean, there's a reason you bring in guys that are running these like top tier schemes. If you want Ben Johnson, you got to make him your head coach. And if you want a scheme like that, you got to take the next guy under him and give him a big job. Teams are doing that with the GMs that work under Les Snead with the Rams. If you want those guys, you got to bring in Brad Holmes. You got to bring in James Gladstone. So, like, at this stage, if you have the next man up under one of the best coaches in the league, I love that. So I'm in on Declan Doyle. And if he face plants, So what? He's a young guy. He'll get another shot, but like the upside is huge in my opinion.
Yeah, and if you pair him with a defensive-minded head coach and you can put a little bit more on his plate to run the offense while Minter, who's done nothing short of been excellent. From Michigan all the way to the Chargers, he's led every defense to being upper echelon. I think top 12, top college is harder to rank overall. But, yeah, I think that's a great pairing is to let each one do what they do best. And that helps the offensive side a lot more than –
That's how you get a Declan Doyle. Because he was an offensive coordinator, but he was an offensive coordinator under one of the best head coaches who called the plays. So you go to that guy and you say, I'm a defensive head coach. You come here, the offense belongs to you. And you know what happens if you succeed? Then you're the next head coach. So Declan Doyle, like guys like that, Davis Webb for the Broncos now, like any of these young gunslinging play coaches, like play callers, I want part of those offenses for sure.
So we go to the new offensive coordinator, to the former offensive coordinator, now head coach of the Cleveland Browns, Todd Monken. Aidan, Quinshon Judkins, what do you think his value is under this new coaching staff?
I am absolutely personally 1,000% in on Judkins this year. Personally, myself, full throttle, because every single video, every single beat report we get out of Browns mandatory minicamp and OTAs right now is extremely promising for Judkins. There's even been some talk with the coaching staff and the like and such that we could see even a bit of an uptick in his receiving role as well. I know a lot of that last year belonged to Dylan Sampson, but Judkins could factor in a bit more in that role as well. And if we have questions about this very, let's put it bluntly, bad QB situation and passing offense as a whole, if it even exists, like I do, then I'm just going to take the unquestioned bell cow who's going to get all the goal line carries when they're down there in Judkins.
Piggybacking off of the quarterback concerns here for the Cleveland Browns, as well as the rookie wide receivers that they drafted this year, Coop, let's talk about Harold Fannin. Should he be trusted as a top 5 tight end for fantasy and redraft this year?
It does make me nervous. Like with situations like Fannin, we don't want change. Like Stefanski was great, the scheme was great, he was getting peppered with targets. Like you don't want that to change. You don't want the coordinator to change. Jerry Jeudy said something pretty telling. A lot of times, people, players will be like, "Oh yeah, it's the same thing. The words, the terminologies are different." He was like, no. He's like, this scheme is totally different. The concepts are different. Like, these are different languages. Like, with some of these systems, it's like a numbered route tree where like a 1 is an out and a 5 is a fade or whatever. Todd Monken runs like the air raid with Erhard Perkins terminology. It's all concepts. It's crazy for me. And then they bring in the quarterbacks have to understand that. They already have Jerry Jeudy. They bring in 2 new wide receivers that they drafted in the first and the second round. I just can't imagine any of that being a good thing for Harold Fannin. Like, it does make me nervous. The upside is still there that, he could be a top 2 target on the team again, but the path is obviously more difficult. So it does scare me a little bit. It does.
No, that totally makes a lot of sense. Aidan, we were talking about Harold Fannin last week from a dynasty perspective, and it kind of mirrors what we're thinking here for redraft. So love that analysis, Coop. Let's go over to the Las Vegas Raiders. New head coach Clint Kubiak, former offensive coordinator for the Seattle Seahawks, defending world champs. Nate, Ashton Jeanty, is this going to be his year? He's breaking out and really showing everybody else why he was drafted where he was last year?
Yeah, I mean, with the Raiders just in general, I want to see, obviously, the Clint Kubiak addition, for me, benefits 2 positions, and I'll let Coop talk about the other one. And of course, I'm hoping that it's a blend of a little bit of the New Orleans-led offense attack as well as Seattle. Like, what I mean by that is what I hope doesn't get situated is finishing dead last in running back receptions or targets, which Seattle did last year. Jeanty had 55 receptions alone, so I think the opportunity is, they're going to do more. The other question I have is the whole bell cow versus dual running back and kind of splitting the workload. I don't know if there's another running back in Oakland, Vegas, you know what I mean? That's going to take touches away from Jeanty unless they're just forced to do so. So I'm more optimistic. I think Jeanty has a workload. If you look at EPA by teams, with New Orleans, it wasn't anything super sexy, 25th per play, 30th per drop back. But it was the running game. He was 10th in EPA per rushing attempt. And then with Seattle, well, it was 22nd. A little bit of that, I think, was derived in the fact that they were capable of doing a lot with multiple different players across that offense. And so I am going to say, yes, I'm higher on Jeanty than I thought I would be just going into the second year because I was a little concerned about this offense's scoring more than anything. And that's still the only thing holding me back. But I think if there's a person who can utilize the running game to be more explosive and actually get more out of it, it is a Clint Kubiak-led offense.
Well, Coop, let's talk about Brock Bowers. Like we talked about with Trey McBride, what his, potential range of outcome would be with his new situation. What do you think about Brock Bowers and his, outlook with this new Clint Kubiak offense?
I mean, he's my tight end one this year. I think he's going to be phenomenal. If you look at what Clint Kubiak, his ideal offense looks like, it involves multiple tight ends. And we've seen iterations of this scheme that have used a tight end as a wide receiver for 70% of the routes. Mike McDaniel was also, in 2023, it was McDaniel and Bobby Slowick and Kubiak and all those guys. And they all went off and installed this offense in different places. People forget the Texans ran this scheme in 2023 with Bobby Slowick, and the Dolphins ran it. And when the Dolphins last 2 years, Johnny Smith and Darren Waller, 70% of their routes from a wide receiver spot. When Kubiak was in New Orleans, he used Foster Moreau inline, Juwan Johnson as a wide receiver. And with the Seahawks, A.J. Barner actually ran 85% of his routes inline. It was supposed to be second-round pick Elijah Arroyo. He just got banged up. He missed the entire end of the regular season. The perfect setup for this scheme is kind of one, maybe two meaningful wide receivers, an inline tight end like Michael Mayer that's a mauler, and then a big slot tight end that you're moving all over the place, having them line up out wide for goal line stuff. Like Brock Bowers, as long as the quarterback play is good, he's going to be awesome. And Kirk Cousins offers a good floor, and Fernando Mendoza offers a big ceiling. So, yeah, Brock Bowers, I think he's an awesome player. I think he's going to be awesome.
Aidan, so in case that wasn't clear, pretty clear, I think, that Brock Bowers is the de facto number one receiving option for the Las Vegas Raiders. If you had to pick a wide receiver, though, after Bowers, who would you pick to have on your roster this year for redraft?
Boy, it's like the island of misfit toys.
Really?
It's probably Jalen Naylor, just because of the somewhat significant contract commitment they gave him. If I had to pick one, it is probably Naylor. I'm not buying that 1-3 touchdown game that Trey Tucker had in the middle of the season last year. I still like Jack Bash as their power slot, but he barely got any playing time at all last year. And Dante Thornton is a strictly unrefined deep threat. I'll go Jalen Naylor just because of the contract commitment if I had to pick one.
All right, let's go to the Los Angeles Chargers.
Can I just comment on that?
Yeah, go for it.
Every best ball draft I've been in, my thought has been exactly what Aidan said. If I had to pick one, and there's been a bunch of those situations where I'm like, I'll pick Naylor. If Naylor goes and Tucker's just sitting there, sometimes I will pick Tucker. But it is a if I had to pick one situation because it's not only new players but a new scheme. We don't know.
No,
I do know Trey Tucker's been probably the least efficient wide receiver in maybe the history of the league. The last 2 years, the leaders in routes run are Jamar Chase, Jerry Jeudy, and Trey Tucker. And he's finished wide receiver a million. He's just not doing it for me.
Well, hopefully there are some skill players here on the Los Angeles Chargers that'll do it for you with new offensive coordinator Mike McDaniel. But before we get to those skill players, let's talk about the guy who's passing the ball to these skill players, Coop. Justin Herbert. Does he have a top 5 ceiling with Mike McDaniel now as the offensive coordinator?
I love this scheme. I talked up Kubiak. I haven't really mentioned it, but I had Seahawks published in an article as my dark horse team last year. And you can't call the Chargers a dark horse, but I'm very excited for this scheme if everything comes together. The thing with Herbert that has me wondering about the top 5, I think this scheme is great for passing. The pre-snap motion, the throwing to a spot. I mean, Tua led the league in passing yards. We forget Tua Tagovailoa led the league in passing yards at one point because of this scheme, right? The problem is because of how quickly you're getting the ball out of your hands in a lot of cases, which maybe that was a Tua problem. Tua was getting the ball out of his hands last year. Literally the only person that was getting it out faster than him was Philip Rivers, to put it in perspective. Like, it was under 3 seconds. It was nuts. So, like, if they're going to run it that way, where it's like Herbert gets the ball and gets it out quickly, he might not run as much. And that could stop his potential, like, super high ceiling. But if he's combining running with what this scheme does, this guy could be QB1, man. We know he could. I mean, he's awesome. Like, the detractors for guys like Justin Herbert and Trevor Lawrence, sometimes it goes too far. You know what I mean? Like, people that are like, oh, these guys stink. I'm like, they're the bottom, they're minimum top 15 of the best quarterbacks on the planet. It's like the hate goes a little too far sometimes. Of course, any one of these guys, if they're willing to run 85 times, which is 5 times a game, and throw for 4,500 yards and 40 touchdowns, like, Herbert could easily do that. He could be number one. So, yeah, of course he has that ceiling in this offense, and I think he's being drafted exactly where he should be. Let me ask you guys, when you get to that part of the draft board, when it is Dak, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Herbert, Jackson Dart, like, who are you picking from that crew? Because it is kind of it's a very tight ADP crew, and you have to make a decision. Aidan, what are you doing there?
One, I think Jackson Dart's overvalued. I think he's way behind those guys, for me personally, at least in my rankings. 2, I'm pretty easily picking Justin Herbert because, like you said, Coop, I think the offensive play caller ad of Mike McDaniel and just the weaponry scheme is really exciting to me. So out of everybody, I'd have to say Herbert.
I'll also throw Mahomes in there too, and Purdy if you wanted to go there. That's got the crew. You look at ADP right now. Dak goes pick 79, Herbert 81, Lawrence 85, Mahomes 89, Dart 96, Purdy also 96. That is an insanely clustered group of players. Who are you taking, Nate?
Yeah, I find myself taking Dak more times than not in that group. I would really like to have the situation where I don't have to take one at first and I can take another position player and then let the next available between Dak and Herbert. If it gets past that, and I know, Jorge, you want to say, of course, I'll take the Mahomes love, but I'm a realist. I understand that the ceiling for both of those two players, for both Dak and Herbert, are so great. I can't envision myself taking a quarterback early this year just because of exactly what Coop just said. Just listing those ADPs, it's, I don't want to say foolish, but I really believe I can build a much stronger team without utilizing one of the onesie positions that early.
What about you, Jorge?
Yeah, I would lean Dak, but for me, initially, Brock Purdy, man, 9 games played, 2,167 yards, 20 touchdowns, 10 picks. Okay. But like the 20 touchdowns in 9 games, 19.7 fantasy points per game during that stretch. You add Mike Evans now, you still have Christian McCaffrey, who we saw his value as terms of his rushing output decline, but his receiving output has always been top tier. So, whether he's dumping it off to McCaffrey or now has that deep threat that he had been missing for years, never to the caliber of Mike Evans, even though Mike Evans, he's an older player, it's hard for me to look past him given this cluster of quarterbacks you just mentioned.
But you can't go wrong with, man. He's awesome.
Let's go to the Miami Dolphins. So we were talking about Tua a little bit earlier. Now we got some change here in Miami. Head coach Jeff Hafley, former coordinator of the Green Bay Packers, and offensive coordinator now Bobby Slowick, former offensive coordinator of the Houston Texans. Coop, let's start with you. Greg Dulcich, the best value on the board here.
Look, dude, on the last show I was on, or before this with Carla, she only asked me one football take, just one. She goes, "Who would be your guilty pleasure pick if you could have like one player ball out?" And it is Greg Dulcich. I mean, it's just a guy we've been banking on for years. it's become funny. You know, anytime it can be a real take, but it also we got the memes and it's fun and it's funny. Like that's where we're really having fun. But I'll say this, you know what? I've been a Bobby Slowick truther. I've got a Bobby Slowick tweet from when he got fired that was basically saying, look, you brought this guy in to install a scheme with a fullback and 2 wide receiver sets. And you know what he did? He went out and set up CJ Stroud to have an incredible rookie year, right? And then you take away the fullback and you trade for Stephon Diggs and you change the scheme and then everybody gets hurt and then you fire this guy. It's like, what did you think? Like I was on Bobby Slowick's side the whole time, and I like this scheme. If that isn't clear, I like Kubiak, I like Shanahan, I like Mike McDaniel, and Bobby Slowick. It sounds like the Dolphins like the scheme too because he runs the same damn scheme. So I think we're going to see a lot of the same things. And when you look at what the Dolphins have done the last 2 years, which I already mentioned on the show, 70% of the routes for Darren Waller will run from a wide receiver spot. 70% of the routes for Johnny Smith. And when Darren Waller went down, don't look now, but Greg Dulcich had a couple 5-catch games, like 5-target games. You know what I mean? Like if they just lean into it, then great. And we've played this game before in a lot of places, which is like everybody, obviously we want to have a superstar tight end with a great quarterback where he's the focal point. Like we want Travis Kelce. At a certain point, opportunity matters more than anything else. And some of the guys that have won us leagues, like Logan Thomas, this is a converted quarterback that was just right. The top targets on the team were Logan Thomas and J.D. McKissick. It's like you just got to look for opportunity. These wide receivers, man, to steal a term from Aidan from earlier, talk about Island and Misfit Toys. They literally just went out and collected all the guys that failed everywhere else. Tutu Atwell, Jalen Tolbert, Terrace Marshall. Pick your right. The one bad wide receiver from LSU like ever. Like pick your poison of like failed guy. Malik Washington is actually kind of cool in very last round of the best ball drafts. But this team is losing on purpose. They have more dead cap than they have active spending. They still got to play the games. So if Greg Dulcich gets 5-6 targets a game, this guy could go from like wide receiver 30 in the rankings to being a top 10 guy. Guys, every year for 10 years now, we've had a wide receiver from outside the top 15 in ADP to finish top 5. And a lot of those guys are names that you wouldn't even think about, man. Going all the way back to Heath Miller. So, like, yes, Greg Dulcich can be that guy, and I hope he will. And when he does, we'll come back on here and we'll get fired up about it.
You know what? So it's okay. So here's something
I'm not going to promise to chug beers like we did with Stone.
No. We're going to do a little role reversal here. So for those who don't know, on Dynasty 365 a couple seasons ago, Stone Smart was a preseason person we were talking about at the tight end position.
Him.
And we made a bet on Dynasty 365 that if Stone Smart caught a touchdown that season, Coop would have to come on the show and Stone Cold Steve Austin wise do the beer bash and do the beer chug live on the stream. And that ended up happening. So
60-yard touchdown.
Yes, against
Can
the
I still
Packers.
find that stream? Is that like, still up there?
If you go to our TikTok page, that short is there that shows said beer bash, which was awesome.
I'm so proud of Jorge for doing it right in his living room.
Right
dude.
in the office.
I had like a raincoat on.
Area. Yeah.
I was outside with a raincoat on. Jorge did it right, dude. The way Stone Cold would do it.
There you go. So I'm going to do the reverse here. If Greg Dulcich finishes as a top 15 tight end at season's end, I will do whatever drinking thing you want me to do, which it could be anything. It could be a liquor thing. It could be a beer bash thing.
Let's make it top 12.
Top 15 is not.
Top 15 is too loose, man. You're setting yourself up for danger. AJ Barner was like
or fun, however you want to look at it. Okay, fine. Top 12 it is. Top 12 it is. You decide the punishment.
Top 12 for Greg Dulcich. We'll come on and we'll chug. You know those like the strawberries that Bud Light makes? That feels like a Miami Dolphins drink, right?
Chugging mojitos at the end of the season.
This show actually has a history of alcohol distribution. At one point, Nate, remember I sent you those the two Eagle Rares.
Yeah, I still have one. I still have both the bottles, not full, but yeah, that would be
impressive.
It was. I would have been. No, there was no chance. It was the sneaky little 3-ounce bottle that came with it. It was a little surprise added bonus that was a Stag 300, I believe, is what it was. And I I'd made a drink of it, went outside, had it, and text Coop and was like, thanks a lot, man. I was like, that little ad one was really good. Enjoyed it. And he's like, you drank it already? And he's like, that's a sipper, buddy. And I was like, oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I drank
it. Yeah, dude, 100. I think that bottle of that Stag Junior was like 132 proof, bro.
It was like, never would have guessed it. That's when you that's
so
it was
good. Yeah,
much better than you would expect. If just the pure thought of any proof of 132 proof, you would think of gasoline and just every negative that comes along with it. But shockingly, it was smoother than many of the just generic 80 proof insert bourbon / whiskey that you can find. But yep, I do. I remember that really well.
Talk about buying low too. Those bottles of Eagle Rare probably, what do they go for, like $150 now, dude? Those pop.
Here they're even more than that. I bought since they're not allocated around in the Midwest that much, and so a small bottle, just a regular size. And when Coop says he sent me a big one, it was the 1.5. It was amazing. It was so awesome. I was so happy to get that in the mail. But
I am jealous of all y'all, because we probably get that once a year here, and it's normally a pallet per liquor place. And so the state in Virginia runs all the liquor stores, and the only way you find out if it's arrived at your store is you have to join their email list. And then during a random Tuesday at 10 o'clock in the morning, you'll get an email where just when you can't go, right? And so
are you on the email list?
It was 2 of them though, JT. 2 of the 1.5 liters. So that's pretty good. Liters.
Because we were talking about it, and he was like, I can't find anything here. And I was like, dude, I got a spot. And I was like, you know what? Gotta hook the man up, dude. But that's crazy that Virginia's a control state and it's all done via email.
Yeah, it's nuts. It's
what
so
a process.
Wait till dude, you got to make a trip to New Hampshire, dude.
I know.
New Hampshire is nuts. They just have it. They just like, oh yeah. I walk in one time and they were like, they were like, here's. I was like, do you have anything allocated? They bring out a bottle of Blanton's, a bottle of a bottle of Weller 107, and a bottle of Michter's 10 year, right? And they go, you can only have one. And I was like, oh, I'll take the Michter's 10 year. And they go, no, you can only have one of each.
Oh,
I was like, well,
oh my god!
I was like, I'll take them all, dude.
You sure?
Face value, no sales tax in that state. So we're talking like $60 for the Blantons. It was like the Michter's is like $45. Dude, New Hampshire. If you get there if you hit the right time for New Hampshire, it's crazy. They also run a lottery every year where like everybody wins.
So speaking of winning, being at Father's Day weekend, and it's going to be my second year as a father. This is the perfect time to pull that card and magically disappear on Saturday and show back up on Father's Day with these bottles that you're saying are so available in New Hampshire, and get the, where have you been this entire week? And I'm like, I have been on a road trip. That's where I've been. So
my own personal Father's Day weekend road trip.
Exactly. Exactly. Blame the holiday.
You're making that drive. You might as well go to Kentucky, brother.
I mean, that's a fair point. That is a fair point. But let's finish off the drive here in Miami. Let's talk about Devin Achane. Aidan, is he a value since he appears to be the only show in town for this Dolphins offense?
I don't think it's a value in that sense. I think he's going exactly where he should. I know he's going to get a ton of volume, all the volume in the world. He is a smaller stature running back, so I'm kind of concerned about that. But in terms of touchdown opportunities, he's not going to have it. So, yeah, he's going to get all the volume in the world, but what does that matter when you're in a really bad offense? It's probably the worst offense in the league that is going to have very limited touchdown opportunities. So, from that sense, I am a little worried. I just find myself taking a few other higher upside running backs than Devon Achane. I know he's going to get a ton of work, but, I mean, what does that really add up to with limited touchdown volume?
All right, let's go to the Steel City. New head coach Mike McCarthy. Nate, Michael Pittman Jr. or DK Metcalf is going to be, which one is going to be the wide receiver one for Pittsburgh in 2026?
If I had a coin, I'd flip, and it might not be a coin flip because I'm pretty confident that if I'm just going to look at Sorry, Aaron Rodgers truthers, if there's some still out there. I don't see a real wide passing game or deep passing game. So, I mean, if I'm going to pick a receiver, it's going to be closer to the line of scrimmage and at least give me an opportunity to get more. Michael Pittman's the guy. I don't love either one. I don't know if Coop, how often are you addressing or taking Pittman and or Metcalf if they are at just standard ADP, not if they slip 2 rounds?
I take Pittman at ADP from time to time. I'm with you. And I just think that for the sake of what the way the league has been trending, right? The big split end on most teams, even when they're really good, ends up playing the more difficult role and facing the top corner, having to have their foot tethered to the line of scrimmage, right? Like, look at Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Look at George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb before Lamb got hurt. Look at T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. Look at Devontae Adams, in my opinion, Hall of Famer, and Puka Nacua. One guy gets to play slot, have his foot back off the line, go in motion without having to step back, get to play against slot corners and kind of be a flanker, not have to deal with the 2 high safeties. Like, in a vacuum, there's an argument about who's more talented. DK Metcalf, in my opinion, is going to have the harder job. So I think if Rodgers can feed him 1 million touchdowns, which is entirely possible, then he can be great. But I think Pittman's just going to have a role that's more conducive to modern fantasy football.
Yep, agreed.
Love both your all's takes. Coop, let's stick with you. Jaylen Warren, Rico Dowdle, who is the running back to roster in redraft this year?
Yeah, and the problem that I have is that I've been doing research to figure out who's going to do what, because both these guys can catch and run. I mean, we forget Jaylen Warren was the pass down back. He had 75 targets that one year. And then when Najee left, they moved him to starting back and they made Kenneth Gainwell the pass down back. He can do both. Rico Dowdle, wherever he's been, he can do both, right? And we know Jaylen Warren's the incumbent, but Rico Dowdle has worked with Mike McCarthy. So I found comments from Ramon Chinyoung, who is the RB coach, and he comes with McDaniel, right? They got rid of Eddie Faulkner, and they bring this guy in. Dude, his comments do not help us at all, guys. He literally goes, first he goes, Mike wants fresh legs. Then he said, we want to make sure these guys are getting equal snaps. Then he said that they can all do everything. But then he also threw in there, which is a nightmare comment. He goes, the scheme we want to highlight each week might dictate who gets more touches, right?
That's great.
Awesome.
The nightmare, the horrible thing about that comment is that if one guy comes out and has a big game, that comment alone doesn't necessarily dictate that can even be a trend, because let's say they face a team that runs a lot of 4-3 and you're doing a lot of gap blocking, and then the next week you play a team that runs 3-4 and it's all changed. The other guy could be the guy, and it's by the time we figure out that trend, even if it exists, it's gonna be week 7, and who's gonna? It's a nightmare, man. So my answer, and this is the worst part about it, my answer is whoever's cheaper, and these guys go back to back. So I don't know. Right now I'm taking Dowdle because he just goes cheaper, but please tell me you guys have something, because I can't find nothing. Do you guys have any lean that I can just hitch my hat to? Because I've been trying.
Well, Aidan, you've been pretty high on Rico Dowdle. Why don't you answer this one?
Dowdle?
Yeah, I'm in on Dowdle, Coop, to answer your question.
What's the deal?
Because
give me something. I'll run with whatever you got.
He has a deep connection with Mike McCarthy, and everyone has wanted Jaylen Warren to beat out guys like Najee Harris and Kenneth Gainwell, but he just couldn't do it. Kenneth Gainwell, out of all people, even beat him out last year. And in addition to the Dowdle-McCarthy connection, Dowdle has literally taken people's jobs. Coming off a career year last year, he flat out took Chuba Hubbard's job. And he was pretty pissed off when they put Chuba Hubbard back in. Yeah. So I am going to hitch my wagon, if you will, to Rico Dowdle, because I think he has more of that bell cow archetype. I could see it being a 50-50 split or really close to it, but I'm going to take a chance on Dowdle in that case still out of the two.
To your point, I love that take. And to your point, you just reminded me that you're right. Dowdle was pissed. And they asked him in the locker room, remember, they were like, does the touches at the end of the year affect your decision in free agency? And he said yes. So
he was very upset, yeah.
He was very upset. And he was like, yeah, the fact that I'm getting less touches matters. So do you think he would sign anywhere where he's not going to get the ball? I think you know what?
They
Yeah,
might
good
have
point.
told him like you're gonna get a lot of carries here. So
I think they had to. So that is interesting for sure. And he's cheaper. As long as he's cheaper than Warren, like that's definitely a
couple
play. So,
rounds. Yeah.
no, he's not on underdog. They go like back to back, dude. So
Oh,
but I'll take
never mind.
anything. I'll
I
take
thought
anything.
it was like a wider gap.
On some spots it is, but on let me check. I was looking at it a second ago.
So
for
no, the
somebody else.
community at large doesn't know how to handle it either, Ben.
Nobody does, dude. Warren
Nate?
goes pick 75. Oh yeah, you're right. Warren goes 75. Dowdle goes pick 87. So a full round. I'll take that.
Yeah, I'll take that.
So Nate, Aiden's taking Dowdle. Coop is on the Dowdle train. Where are you standing with these Pittsburgh running backs?
I was leaning the Coop side of not having a clue, and most likely, if value is there, say opportunity, maybe I'll just get lucky. But Aidan, I mean, despite the whole hit your wagons, Buffalo Bills, stupid moniker,
That's not what I was
you
even
100%
thinking about,
were
but
referencing it.
okay.
Yes, you were.
Yeah,
Circle,
I
hits the
hope
wagons,
he's
circle the
gonna
wagons. I know. No,
Rico Dowdle, do your job. I'll throw in my Boston one for you guys too.
it's compelling. Like I think I will. I was looking at the same thing or different. I was like, yeah, Dowdle and Warren back to back. That's just last year's finishes where they finished within 0.2 of a point of each other overall. So it's again, that's why I thought they were so close too. But yeah, let's do Dowdle. Maybe we'll
See, Nate and I
What was
do
ADP
agree on
level,
something.
pardon me. I know we agree on a lot of stuff. I just
Historic
don't-
moment.
A lot is a strong phrase.
A lot.
You don't want to agree on everything though. You don't.
No,
You
for
want
sure.
to, you want to see the more sides of everything you can see, the better.
Absolutely. Well, let's try and see the positive side here with the last team we're going to be talking about tonight, and that is the Tennessee Titans head coach Robert Saleh, offensive coordinator Brian Daboll. Okay, Coop, let's look at the bright side here. Is Cam Ward a sneaky QB2 in Superflex formats under Brian Daboll?
Yeah. So I'm not a quarterback expert by any means. I did play back in my playing days. And the first thing you look for, like there's 3 levels of playing quarterback. The first is playing a clean game, right? And literally by that I mean, and every quarterback thinks about this at every level, are you getting the guys in the right position? Can you take the snap? Can you get to your spot and hand the ball off? Are you taking penalties? And Cam Ward and JJ McCarthy struggled with that. Those 2 teams led the league in illegal formations. They led the league in 10 men on the field, right? They led the league in illegal motion. Like Cam Ward did come around towards the end. JJ McCarthy did not. But like that's a big hurdle. The second step is can you make the throws, right? Like can you make the plays? And then the third step is can you be special? And with Cam Ward, it's kind of interesting. I do think that he can make special plays. We saw some flashes of that, but with Cam Ward, you're betting just that everything's in place. Carnell Tate's there. Calvin Ridley came back. They spent up on Wan'Dale Robinson. Gunnar Helm's pretty solid. Like the play caller is good. There's always the chance that the quarterback just isn't an NFL caliber quarterback, and I think that's still there with Cam Ward. But I think it's worth betting on, especially in best ball if you've already have players in your stacking. But like it's entirely possible. It's now up to Cam Ward. And unfortunately, I could see him taking a step. I could also see him failing. But he has to throw at a high level because this guy doesn't run. If you don't run 5 times a game, you got to be a guy that throws for 4,000 plus and 35 touchdowns to be a meaningful fantasy quarterback if you're not going to run at a high enough level. So Cam Ward, super flex, yes. Best ball, yes. Do I have any interest right now in a single QB league? No. I would need to see him come out slinging the ball for me to consider adding him. But if he does come out throwing 300-yard games and multiple touchdown games early on, we'll add him. But like guys like that make me nervous, dude. Guys like that make me nervous because like you can only have so many 5-yard penalties before the game gets out of your hands. And and we all know 3rd and 12 when your quarterback isn't Joe Burrow or whatever, death sentence.
Let's talk about nerves here, Aidan. Let's talk about Carnell Tate. Do you think he's overvalued or undervalued in the 6th round? What are your thoughts here?
I actually think that's a round or two undervalued. Usually we've seen the market be pretty generous towards first round alpha receiver picks like this, let alone a top 5 pick going 4th overall in Cardinal Tate, who is the unquestioned number 1. I like Wan'Dale Robinson. Jorge, I know you love Wan'Dale Robinson, but at the end of the day, he is a high floor, low ceiling type player and predominantly 99%, like for the most part, a slot receiver at the end of the day. And I feel like the market isn't correcting towards the confidence that I have personally, as should many others have, in Cardinal Tate. Usually we see alpha receivers like get steamed up, whether it be Ted McMillan last year, Chris Olave, or Garrett Wilson 4 or 5 years back. We see these guys get steamed up all the time. And I don't know why Cardinal Tate isn't getting that treatment. Maybe it's because it's a defensive-minded head coach and Robert Saleh. Maybe it's because people are kind of like not in on Cam Ward and a single QB such as Coop. I don't know, but I feel like Cardinal Tate should be getting steamed up, but for some reason he's just not.
Jorge, you're a Wan'Dale Robinson guy?
Yeah.
Look, I get it. Like a couple seasons ago, a lot of target volume, but inefficient wise. But seeing him have these monster games last year, I was very high on him, and the fact that this is prior to the NFL draft. You look at the offensive line situation in Tennessee. You look at Wan'Dale Robinson's low ADOT. You're looking at Cam Ward needing to get the ball out quickly. It just made the stars were kind of aligning for me in terms of trying to get Wan'Dale Robinson as a value pick this year.
I like Wan'Dale too.
Nice.
I like him too. Listen to this. I got a list for you that I pulled. I pulled up I went over Stathead. Shout out to Pro Football Reference. And I took the last 2 years leaders in receptions, right? Combined receptions. Here's the top 8 players: Jamar Chase, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jackson Smith-Njigba,
right.
Puka Nacua, Justin Jefferson, Wan'Dale Robinson, CeeDee Lamb, and Drake London.
Did you do this just for Wan'Dale? Just to say, like,
that's literally the top 7 players in ADP, and Wan'Dale Robinson, who goes wide receiver 40.
in Wan'Dale Robinson.
So just in terms of pure receptions, obviously those other guys are putting up more yards, more touchdowns. That's the fucking list, bro. I'm sorry for swearing on here, but it's a crazy list. Like literally, I just named every wide receiver who even ever goes in the first round. Right? Let's talk about the first round. I just named the guys that go in the first round, and sometimes Drake London, and then Wan'Dale Robinson. And Wan'Dale Robinson is 6. He's ahead of more catches than CeeDee Lamb, more catches than Drake London over the last 2 seasons. So I don't know. The same guy that gave him 140 targets in back-to-back years said, let's give him $70 million.
I mean, that's definitely a huge vote of confidence and definitely an example of the fact that PPR formats, look for these gems. Somebody that was a gem that Coop, you had mentioned, J.D. McKissick. I believe he had more targets than any other running back. I believe a couple, like, what was it, 2018, 2019? So
105 targets.
Yeah. So, know your scoring format and know where you can maximize your output here. But speaking of outs and outputs and outros, that's going to do it here for Fourth and Frames, as we've just covered the 2026 coaching changes and the fantasy implications for redraft. Coop, please, thank you, first of all, you've had long days. You do this all the time, all day long, staying on late with us. Please, thank you, first of all, and tell everybody where they can find you.
First of all, work is over. Work is the research and the articles and stuff. Hanging out with you and Aidan and Nate, dude, this is fun. This is like what we like doing, so definitely don't ever call this show work. Bro. Hanging with you guys is a good time, man. So, and any time for sure. Hit me up on X or Blue Sky at Coupe Fiasco. On Twitter, Coop, there it is. All my stuff is at Fantasy Alarm. Check out the Fantasy Alarm YouTube for more of this kind of thing. And we're on Sirius XM. We have a show 6 to 8 p.m., channel 87 on weekdays. I'm on Thursdays and Fridays, and then during the season, 10 to 11 a.m. So we just stay rocking, man. But, Jay, thank you for having me on, dude. Always a good time with the crew over here.
Absolutely. Just seriously, one of the most genuine people in the fantasy football community and been a great friend to us here. So really appreciate you and your time. Folks, don't forget, if you liked what you heard tonight, please hit that subscribe button or that follow button wherever it is you're watching us. We'd appreciate it so that way you're notified when Fantasy and Frames puts out article content, podcast content, shorts content. Speaking of article content and rankings, head over to fantasyandframes.com to check out all of our redraft, dynasty, IDP redraft, IDP dynasty, rookie rankings, IDP rookie rankings. You get into the theme here, folks, as well as check out some of our premium content that you can access for $4.99 a month. We'd really appreciate that support and thank everybody who's been supporting us with that thus far. Before we get out of here, Nate, any plans for the weekend? Anything looking forward to doing?
Necessarily. Might watch the surprising St. Louis Cardinals with Coop, close your ears, with Blaze Jordan getting the call up and having a pretty solid start for a weak sample size, which is not enough to say anything, but we've been optimistic and hopeful, and so I know it's rough, but that's all we have to look for. We ain't got much else in summer with St. Louis when the Cardinals have been so bad lately, but nice. Happy Father's Day early to you, Jorge. Well, to both of you and Coop.
Thank you. Aidan, what you got going on this weekend? Anything fun?
Weather permitting, hopefully. It's finally supposed to be in the 80s, I guess. Go swimming in the in-ground pool we got, and then continue to train our new 10-week-old puppy.
Aw. Coop, sharing Nate's sentiments. Happy early Father's Day. Any plans heading into the weekend aside from the celebrating Father's Day?
Yeah, it's Father's Day. I got a big project. I'm working on a shed, so my father-in-law is going to come up, and we're going to work on that, which is not your typical Father's Day. We got to get stuff done. I might honestly, dude. I went to the World Cup last weekend, and I might just go over to Gillette Stadium, which is like 10 minutes from my house, and just hang out because the vibes with like the teams from Scotland and Haiti and Norway, man, like everyone's just having fun, dude. It is crazy how everybody's embracing each other. It's just good natured fun. Like I legit, me and the boys that went to the game, we might just go and hang out and not even go into the game, just hang out with all the fans because it rocks.
Just be
anyone, just to be there and hang out and just and hear the songs and the vibes. We went over there at 2:00. The game started at 9 p.m. We were there at 2:00. They were already going back and forth with the chants.
Wow.
No Scotland, no party. And then the Haitian dudes would do theirs. And then everyone would come together for a big ole, ole, ole. Like, I'm telling you, everybody out there, try and embrace this opportunity. It only happens once every 4 years and only happens in your country, maybe once in your lifetime. So definitely check it out.
Absolutely. I was very impressed that they went to the Samuel Adams tap room and drank their tap room dry, the Scottish team, that is. I love Sam Adams. I love going to the brewery. Very impressed by the Scotland fans. I am either driving to Kentucky or New Hampshire to get some of these impressive whiskeys that you guys were talking about earlier. So, but that's going to do it for us. So for Nate, for Aidan, for Coop, I'm Jorge. We will see you all next week.